San Antonio's got its share of haunted roads. But there's one bridge folks won't cross after sunset. Local kids call it Donkey Lady Bridge. But that name, well, it don't do justice to what happened there. Or what's still happening. Story goes back to the 1950s. Family living out near Elm Creek. Husband was mean sort. Drunk most nights. Violent when the mood took him. One night he went too far. Set their house on fire with his wife and children still inside. Woman tried to save her kids. Fire caught her bad. Burned her hands into twisted shapes. Melted her features till folks say she looked more animal than human. Pain and grief changed her too. Turned her into something else. Something that ain't quite human anymore. First sighting was a month after the funeral. Truck driver crossing that bridge around midnight. Heard something on the roof of his cab. Sound of hooves, he said. But wrong somehow. Like someone trying to remember how hooves should sound. These days, folks say she haunts that bridge, waiting for any man who reminds her of her husband. They say her hands are still twisted from the fire, fingers fused into hoof-like shapes, face all wrong. Stretched out like a horse's muzzle, but her eyes are still human, still burning with that same rage. Met a local sheriff last summer drinking coffee at my regular stop. Man looked haunted. Said he'd responded to a call out there. Domestic dispute. Husband threatening his wife. By the time he got there, man's truck was empty. Found scratches on the roof. Deep ones. Like hooves had torn right through the metal. Found the man 2 days later wandering the creek bed. Babbling about burning flesh and a woman's screams mixing with something that sounded like a horse in pain. Hair had gone white. Never did make sense again. Thing is, she's selective. Women and children, they cross that bridge just fine. But if you're a man with anger in your heart, violence in your past, she knows. She always knows. Drove past there myself last month. Heard hooves on the pavement behind my truck. Looked in my mirror. Saw something running on all fours. Something wearing a dress. Skin still smoking like that fire never went out. But I'm not the kind she's looking for. Can't say the same for everyone who crosses her bridge. So if you're driving through San Antonio and you come to a bridge over Elm Creek, check your heart before you cross. Because the Donkey Lady, she's still out there. Still burning. Still judging. Still waiting for men who remind her of that night. Some legends are born from tragedy. Some bridges remember. And some fires never stop burning. Some bridges get their names from the towns they connect, the rivers they cross. But down in Doylestown, Ohio, folks call this one Cry Baby Bridge. And if you park there at midnight, engine off, windows down, you'll understand why. Story starts in 1943. Young mother couldn't have been more than 19. Baby was sick, running a fever. She was trying to get to the doctor in town, driving through the worst storm they'd seen that year. Roads were slick, visibility near zero. Never saw the washed-out section of bridge until it was too late. They found her car the next morning, but it took 3 days to find her body downstream. The baby. Well, some say that's why you still hear crying on that bridge. Some searches just never end. Met a paramedic at my usual stop last winter. Woman had this 1,000-yard stare, hands shaking as she stirred her coffee. Said she'd gotten a call about a woman in white standing on that bridge holding something in her arms. Standard wellness check, she thought. But when she got there, saw this young woman in a soaked white nightgown cradling what looked like a bundle of blankets. Temperature dropped so fast the ambulance's windows frosted over. Then she heard it. A baby crying. Not like any living child's cry. This was something else. Something that echoed with 70 years of loss. These days, folks say if you stop on that bridge at midnight, turn off your engine, you'll hear it too. Start with a woman humming a lullaby, then crying. Soft at first, like a baby fighting sleep, but it grows and grows until it's all you can hear. Some say if you bring a toy, leave it on the bridge's railing, you can hear the crying stop, just for a moment, like a mother finally finding something to comfort her child. But come morning, those toys are always gone. Sometimes you find them miles downstream, soaking wet, like they've been underwater for decades. Local kids think it's a game. Drive out there at night, call out, "Show us your baby," like it's some kind of joke. Most times nothing happens, but sometimes they see her, standing in their headlights, that bundle in her arms, and when she unwraps those blankets, well, let's just say those kids don't play that game twice. Drove across there myself back in June. Middle of a heat wave, but my truck's temperature gauge dropped to freezing. Radio started playing static, but underneath, could have sworn I heard someone singing Rockabye Baby. Didn't stop. Some searches you don't want to interrupt. So if you're driving that road at night and you hear what sounds like a baby crying, keep moving. Don't stop. Don't look in your rearview mirror. And whatever you do, don't offer to help. Because some mothers, they're still looking for their babies. And they'll take any child they can find. Some bridges keep their tragedies. Some searches never end. And some cries echo forever.